Thanks for coming on, Michelle. Can you give us a background on who you are and on your story?
Yes, I'm Michelle Norris. I am the CEO and co-founder of Paleo. It's the largest paleo health and wellness platform and event in the world. We've been putting that on in Austin, Texas in the spring since 2012, so it's our 10-year anniversary this year. We were canceled for our 2020 and our 2021 event, but we will be putting on our event April 29th through the May 1st of 2022, and we're super excited about that. And yeah, we got started because our daughter Brittany was killed in a car accident 13 years ago. And she was a music and worship ministry major. And she was killed 3 days before her 23rd birthday and 1 week before her college graduation. And they held her first memorial service at her college on what would have been her 23rd birthday. And there were about 700 people in attendance, and they had a receiving line for us, and we received most of those people, and they were telling us how Brittany had really changed their life, and it wasn't superficial. It was very profound, like very distinct things, like she said this, or she did this, or she took me here, or she showed me this, or she gave me this book, or she told me to check this thing out, or whatever, or she took me someplace, whatever, and it was just really, it was mind-blowing. We were a little numb and on autopilot because it was, a death out of nowhere. We totally did not expect it. She was killed in a car accident. And so that week we had planned on celebrating with our entire family. And then we ended up celebrating her life instead of having all the parties and celebrations that we thought we were going to have. And so we realized very quickly that she had done a lot to change people's lives in a very short period of time. And we didn't want that legacy to die with her. And so then fast forward a few years later, Kieth was invited to speak at the Ancestral Health Symposium. It was their inaugural event. And when we were sitting on the runway at LAX, we were getting ready to leave, and we were talking about what had happened over the weekend and what we liked and all of this stuff. And I was telling him, I just really think that they missed the mark on a lot of stuff. Like, they really need to show people how to do this. Like, people are great, the science is great, but most people are really indifferent to it. If they don't know how to use it, they just don't care. And so we love the science, geek out on it and all of that. So, but our clients, we owned gyms at the time, and I'm a trained chef, so I had a catering business and a meal prep. And it was like our clients, just want to know, what do I eat? What do I do? When do I eat? Do I lift? Do I run? Do I bike? Do I do yoga? What is it that I need to do? And so when I was talking to him about these practical applications of, instead of, so Ancestral Health Symposium is a very decidedly academic symposium. And so they discuss the science of the paleo lifestyle, which is the theory. And then, so I'm telling this to Kieth, and he's like, well, it's an academic conference. I don't think that they're going to do all of that. And I was like, okay. And then we started discussing it, and he was like, I think this is what we should do, and this should be Brittany's legacy. And we decided to run with it from there. So PaleoFX was launched on March 14th of 2012. And so yeah, we just came up on our 10-year anniversary. It happens to also be me and Keith's personal anniversary. So we launched an event on our anniversary, and so here we are.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. It's incredible that you were able to take such a tragic story and turn it into something so amazing.
Thank you. It's interesting because before Brittany passed away, she and I had lots of conversations about finding beauty in the ashes. And, as her mom, I would never, ever choose for her to not be here. But I also can't deny all the beauty that's come from her ashes. And, PaleoFX has changed hundreds of thousands of lives. And, we're in our 10th year. And so Brittany's still here doing her thing, changing lives, and the legacy lives on through PaleoFX. So, yeah.
Can you share with us your past health issues and how traditional medicine failed you and how you were able to heal yourself?
Yeah, so, wow, this has been a long, long time now. Can't even remember exactly when. I want to say 2004. somewhere around there, 2000, I think it was 2004. Um, it's interesting. So I had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome. I was misdiagnosed with early onset rheumatoid arthritis. And Kieth, this is way back in the dial-up days. So he was online on forums talking to some of the pioneers of the paleo movement, and which was Rob Wolf and Art DeBaney and everything. And he was talking to them, looking for some solutions for he was working with a wrestling team in North Carolina. And he was looking for some ideas around how they could keep their wrestlers in better shape year round, instead of them having to do that making weight and all of that is it's really hard on the body, and it takes a toll. So he was looking for some stuff. He was online, and he started hearing from Rob and Art about this celiac. And he started like looking at all of the symptoms, and he was like looking at what was happening to me. Literally every time that I ate, I would be in pain. I would be sick. I wouldn't feel good. I would have headaches. I also had chronic migraines since I was 17. And so he was talking to them about this or whatever, and they started talking about the paleo diet and how this was making such a big impact on people's health and biomarkers and all of that stuff. And, you know, he had always looked at diet for performance, but he hadn't really ever looked at diet for health. He's been an athlete all of his life. And so he decided to try it, and he was like dripping on me. And he would say, hey, I think you might have this celiac thing. You might want to check this out, whatever. But he's not somebody that will beat you over the head with something. So he just like kept dripping on me. Every time I was in pain or ate or whatever, he would, you know, say something like, you really ought to think about trying this diet out and see how this works. And so I'm a trained chef, and my specialty, especially before going paleo, was Italian. And so I made my own pizza dough, my own pasta. We ate mostly at home, so we didn't eat a lot of fast food. I didn't really feel like we ate unhealthy because everything was homemade. But we were taking in a lot of refined carbohydrates because of, you know, pizza, dough, pasta, all that kind of stuff. So fast forward, he made this decision he was going to be paleo, and it didn't matter what I cooked. If I was cooking and it wasn't something he could eat on the paleo diet, he would make his own food. So there was about a year of this, and there was a big celebration. It was one of the kids' birthdays. I'm making tons of pizzas, pasta, the whole works. And there he is making his dinner. And I just looked at him and I said, you're like never going to have my pizza or pasta again, are you? And he said, no. And he said, I really think that you ought to look at this. I think you need to look at the possibility that you might have celiac. And so I was like, okay. So I went in, I got tested, but of course at the time, this is a long time ago, so they didn't even have the right testing. It wasn't the right antibodies and all of that. And I tested negative. But all of my symptoms, the doctor was like, I don't know. I think your symptoms really sound like you might have it. So why don't we do this? Why don't we have biopsy your colon? And I'm like, how about I just cut all this food out of my diet instead of you cutting into my colon? So anyway, and we'll see how that goes. And then maybe later on down the road, if I really need to, we'll have you cut in my colon. So I go home, we decide I'm going to do paleo, and literally in 3 weeks, all of my symptoms were gone. And if you know anything about rheumatoid arthritis, you know that rheumatoid arthritis cannot be reversed. It goes into remission. Well, I didn't have it at all. So I was completely misdiagnosed with it to begin with. And I believe that this is also many people in my family have been diagnosed with it. And I think that's all a misdiagnosis, because I think they all probably have an insensitivity to gluten. So there I am. I feel amazing after 3 weeks. And then this was really interesting. You know, your body becomes normalized to whatever's going on. And so then you start ignoring some of the messages that your body is sending you, because, like, you know, I have this lower back pain that just no longer registered. It was just there. until it wasn't. And then it was like, oh, wow, that I don't have this pain anymore. And it was really crazy. And then during that time, our son, who played select baseball, and his team had been kind of out of season for a little bit. They had been out of season for probably about 6 weeks or so. So we hadn't seen any of the parents. We hadn't seen any of the kids or anything. And so we go to the first game. And this was where, so I was also at the time a food writer. I wrote for a blog that, I wrote my own blog, but I also wrote for other websites. And I did mostly Italian pasta dishes, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't stop that because, in honesty, I was really angry that I had to eat this way in order to be healthy. And so I was in this state of denial that at some point I was going to put all this stuff back into my diet and I was going to be healthy. And so I had this whole thing going on in my head. So I'm, eating this way. I'm feeling good. I'm all of the stuff, but I'm still doing the other things that, the food writing and all of that. And I hadn't really changed that. And we get to the game, and all the parents are like, oh my God, like, what have you been doing? You look amazing. Like, you've lost so much weight. You look so healthy. Your skin is glowing. Like, what is happening? What have you been doing? And I hadn't been doing anything. I had just been eating paleo. And so that was like a light bulb moment for me. And I was like, oh man, this stuff could like really help people. And Kieth jokes around that was the day a paleo evangelist was born. So I stopped food writing for everybody else and started my own blog. And it was all, after that, it was all paleo and everything. And now I eat like a modified Mediterranean keto because we found out through our DNA that we both have APOE3/4, which is a gene allele for early onset Alzheimer's. And it's not the more critical one, but we just know that in order for us to make sure that gene does not express, we eat more of a keto type of paleo diet and less saturated fat and more monounsaturated fat. Like we eat avocado oil and olive oil quite a bit, and we have reduced like the saturated fat, like butter and coconut oil. So we have those kind of in moderation. So yeah, that's kind of my story in a nutshell. Oh, and then the other thing was I got control of my migraines for the first time in my entire life. So my migraines then would only kick in if I was really super tired, didn't get sleep, or that I did, decided to drink red wine because that was kind of a little bit of a trigger. And then, of course, once we figured out it was the tannins and all of that, and that I could actually choose wines like dry farm wine to be able to consume and not get the headaches and everything. So there was that. And then the other one that got me to was we found out that soy was a massive trigger for me as well. So cut all of that too. So that really helped. So anyway, that's my story.
Very cool. Yeah, it's crazy how it's just all connected. And sometimes I think so many people are misdiagnosed, especially because all these autoimmune diseases, there's so many overlaps. Like I had gone once, I've Hashimoto's, and I was diagnosed accidentally with Lyme, which I actually did have, but it was because she was doing some other tests on me, and then she found out that I had Lyme. And I remember, like, when you get diagnosed with Lyme, you have to fill out this questionnaire of your symptoms every time you go back to the doctor. And it's like pretty standardized, I think, because it's how they keep track of who has it and what symptoms they have and stuff. And I just remember looking at this sheet, and it was like over 100 different symptoms that just overlapped with everything, including the Hashimoto's. And I was like, how the hell am I supposed to differentiate between that, like, and how can you as a doctor differentiate between that?
Right. And at the end of the day, it's all chronic inflammation. That's really where all of the autoimmune comes from anyway, and mostly from some type of leaky gut syndrome. So when you start getting all of your gut fixed and everything, you start fixing all of these issues, reversing them. And it's really interesting because I've had some other health issues. I had a severe mold exposure at one point in time, and thankfully I am free from all of that and have come through that. But it caused a lot of different things with hormones and all of that stuff. And so the thing that's really important, I think, for most people to really understand and to know is that your doctors do the best that they can, and they are working in a system that is pretty antiquated and doesn't actually work for the human body. And they don't work in conjunction with what the human body is capable of, which is healing yourself. You don't need a whole lot of medications. You don't need a whole lot of stuff. It's really about how do you fuel your body? How do you fuel your mind? How do you fuel everything within you? And that includes, like, what kind of thoughts do you think? And how do you talk to yourself? And what kind of people do you surround yourself with? And what is your environment? And this is like all the stuff that we talk about at Paleo FX, because we believe in like the 7 pillars of health. And it's about your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health, your relational health, your spiritual health, your financial health, and your tribal health, because really all 7 of these really hinge on each other. And when you have them in a flow, I don't believe in balance, because I don't believe you can be perfectly balanced across all spectrums, because you only have so much ability to focus. And so when, at least if you've got them all in flow, then you can be really optimized as a human. And they all hinge on each other. Like this is our book, and this is like dominoes. So when one of them goes down, they're all going down. So particularly, and this is something that we see so much across, especially in Western culture, is that financial health is really, when people struggle in financial health, they end up ultimately struggling in all areas of life. And then when you are struggling in physical health, you're going to struggle in all areas of life. And so if you're just really giving attention as much as you can to each of the areas of life, then you can keep yourself in a state of flow. And all of that is our environment. What do we have in our environment? Do we have a lot of toxic chemicals that we're using to clean our house, to take care of our animals even? What are we feeding them? What are we feeding ourselves? What are we feeding ourselves, our minds? Like, are you taking in a whole lot of TV? Because at the end of the day, it's called programming for a reason. And it is nothing that's supportive of humans. It does not support an actual human being in their walk of life. It's great to have entertainment from time to time, but I'm very, very careful about what I watch. And when I do watch TV, because your unconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is not. So when you're watching something, your unconscious mind, it's why when you're watching a movie and there's that suspenseful music and you start getting a little anxious for the person, it's because your unconscious mind has no clue that this is not what's happening to you, unless you're very clear with your unconscious mind. This is not real. We are free from everything that we're seeing, and you know what's best for me. So discard everything that isn't in my highest and best good. That's what I do every time I decide I'm going to watch anything on TV. And the thing is that it's really set up to program humans and to keep us in fear and to keep us separated from each other, divided. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I am wearing this shirt, defund the media. So I am wholeheartedly really don't believe in anything that's going on with the media, because they want us to be scared. And so we want to do everything that we can to empower ourselves to be able to make educated decisions. And that is, that's the toxic stuff that goes in our brains, is that when we're watching that kind of stuff. And I mean, I love movies. Whenever I love movies, I don't watch the news. I get my news from sources that I really trust on the internet, and from people that I really trust, that are in the know. And I have a lot of connections. So I'm very blessed that way. So I do know some, things that are going on, but I really stay away from politics and stay away from a lot of that stuff as much as I can, because at the end of the day, I believe that we're the microcosm of the macrocosm. Everything that we see out in our world is the stuff that's actually inside. And if I want this to be a world that is happy and abundant and fulfilling and vibrant, and that it's an exciting life and what have you, then this is the stuff that I'm going to fill my life with, is the things that make me feel abundant and happy and joyful and in pleasure. And I don't mean like we spiritually bypass and say, oh, we're going to pretend that homelessness doesn't happen or racism doesn't happen or things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. It's really about you. You know, Gandhi said you need to be the change that you want to see in the world. And my belief is this starts right here. You start right here. The 6 inches between your ears is where all of this starts, so that we start creating the world that we want and that we all deserve to live in. So
Kieth has taught me a lot about the subconscious mind and trying to train myself, because I just didn't even know that we basically operate almost fully through our subconscious, which is so interesting to me. So you kind of did already go into this, but can you expand on the 7 pillars of health and the mission behind Paleo FX, and also is it, different this year than it was previous years, stuff like that?
Well, okay, so our theme for this year is Primal Uprising, which is our book. We were planning on launching the book last year at PillowFX, and of course we got canceled, so we didn't get to hold it. So we're relaunching our book, Primal Uprising. And basically, PaleoFX has always been about the 7 pillars of health. We've just really kind of put an entire thing around it with the book and everything. And so when we talk about physical health, it's all of the things that go into your physical health. It is the food you eat, it is the exercise that you do, it is all of the stuff that's in your environment. Like, do you have really good cleaning products that are in your house that are not toxic, that don't have? So this is the deal. And women, this is really a big deal for us, is that on average, the average woman puts 168 toxic chemicals on her skin every day. That is a lot for your system, particularly your methylation system that is tasked with clearing all the toxins from your body. This is why so many people have autoimmune issues and are sick, is because we have so many toxins in, not just on the planet, but in our own homes and what we do. Your skin is the largest organ, and it goes into your bloodstream when you're putting things onto your skin. So what are the things that you're doing to clean your home? What are the things you're doing to clean your skin? What are the things that you're doing to feed yourself? All of that. And the thing is it's not about beating yourself up. It's about making the best possible choices and mitigating damage where you can, and being okay with wherever you are in that process, and wherever, because a lot of people are like, oh no, you should only eat organic and pastured meats and everything. That is like the high gold standard. And you know what? There's not a lot of people that can totally always eat at that level. And so I make the best decisions that I can with the resources that I currently have and in the moment. And sometimes you're out to dinner with people. You don't want to be those people. So you have to just make the best choices that you can. And actually, if you feel like you really were not as great as you could have been, then just work on it the next day and don't beat yourself up about it. And then that's, obviously physical health. And then emotional and mental health kind of go in together. The thing is that as humans, we have created this thought process around emotions, that they are inconvenient and they are inappropriate. And so we quash the emotions down. Well, we all incarnated in physical human bodies that feel. That's the whole purpose of all of this, is for us to actually feel everything. And so when we press that down or try to repress it or oppress it, we end up ultimately causing problems further on down the road. And our belief, and in our cosmology, we believe that most dis-ease and disorder in the body can be traced back to some unrealized, unexpressed, or unfelt emotion or trauma. And so if you are expressing that, and then this is the other thing, we program our children immediately from very young If they fall down and they get hurt and they start crying, we put our hands on them. We stop them from crying. We ask them to, we say, shush, you're going to be fine. Stop crying, stop whatever. Instead of allowing them to feel it all and get rid of it and get rid of the trauma. This is a mammalian response that we have, and we have cut it off. And if you go out into nature, any place in nature, and you see animals in the wild, like if you're on the savannah and you happen to watch a gazelle get run down by a cheetah and it narrowly misses dying, what will happen as soon as that gazelle feels safe, it will throw itself on the ground and shake to get rid of the trauma. This is a mammalian response that we have. That's why children shake and cry and do all of the things. It's part of our response. And especially adults, we no longer do that. That's all inappropriate, and it's really inconvenient when you have emotions. And so this is like really, really important to our physical health because, like I said, we can trace all disease and disorder in the body back to some unrealized or unexpressed trauma. And so then that's really your emotional health. Your mental health is all the things that you bring into your mind, all your thoughts, all the things that you engage with, the things that you bring in to your body. This is watching TV, reading books, listening to music, all of the stuff, whatever it is that you're doing, this is coming into your mental body and makes a big deal and a big difference in your life. Because we're of the belief that perception is projection. So whatever you see outside of you, you have projected it. It is within you. So, and we're kind of the belief as above, so below, as within, so without. You are the microcosm of the macrocosm. So whatever you see that triggers you is within you. It isn't about another person. It isn't about whatever that person is doing, saying, what have you. We are of the mindset that when you take 100% responsibility for everything that's in your life and realize that it's a result of every single decision you've ever made in your entire life, and you are fully 100% responsible for that, it's very empowering. And it is sometimes a struggle at the beginning to actually get your mind wrapped around that, because people would be like, wait a minute. You're saying that you called in the death of your daughter. No, I don't think I called it in. I think it's a projection in my life that was part of my soul's progression and evolution. And so it's an agreement that was made on all parties that this was what was going to happen. She made the agreement that she was going to take this on, and this was going to be a role she played in my life and everybody else in the family and all of her friends and all of that stuff. So I'm of the belief that it happened for me, not to me. And like I said, that's about finding the beauty in the ashes. This is a lot about mental health, is finding the beauty in the ashes. And then when we get into relational health, what are all the relationships that you have? This again goes back to perception as projection. When you are struggling with someone in your life and you're struggling in the relationship, it's really, what is it about you that you need to change in order for this relationship to be what you're looking for, what you're wanting? And the thing is too, are we placing a lot of responsibility on another person to fulfill us or to make us happy? Nobody can make us happy. We have to choose that for ourselves. That is literally a choice every single day and every single moment, because we have, about 261 billion bits of information coming in per second into our purview, and our brain has no capacity to hold that kind of information. So you get about 11,000 of those bits. Well, where did all the other ones go? Well, they were deleted, they were distorted, and they were generalized in order to fit your internal representation of the world. This is why you can have 20 people see the same exact event and have 20 completely different perspectives about what happened. And all of them are right. That's where we get into the thing that we respect every person's model of the world, because based on this person's programming is going to, and how they were raised or what traumas they have or any of those things is going to actually change their perception of the event that they just witnessed. It's one of the reasons why you can have four, guys in the military be in a Humvee, get blown up, have very similar, and we're all free from this, have very similar injuries, and you have three of them that have gone home and they're perfectly fine, and one is racked with PTSD. It's the internal representation of each of those people as to whether or not this was a traumatic event or not. A lot of people, 9/11 was like, oh, okay, it was that. But then there was a lot of people, it was a massive trauma for a lot of people, even people that were not in New York, that just witnessed it on TV. So you have, and it's based, again, on our internal representations, how we take that information in, how we delete, distort, and generalize the information that came in is how we end up ultimately living our lives. That's why I just can't, I cannot be angry with someone if they don't agree with me about something, or we witness the same thing and they believe something completely different happened. It is because of the internal representation. So all of your relationships really go back to you, all of them. They're all about you. So even when you're angry with somebody else and they did something, really the trigger is still within you, and it's still your work to do to be able to clear it so that you're a happy person, and that this situation doesn't keep you from being happy because you keep choosing to not be happy, because you keep choosing to be a victim to the situation. And that's a big deal for us as well. That goes into the mental health as well, is whether or not you continue to participate in a system that has been created by the powers that be to keep us in what we call the drama triangle, or it's the victim, victor, villain triangle, where you're a victim to somebody being a villain, and you got to have a savior. And this is how our system is currently set up to work, is we're going to present a problem to you and make you a victim, and now we're going to give you the solution, but you're going to have a villain that we need you to go after. And you see that all over, especially right now, all over the world. And this is how we get all of these people in division and fighting against each other. So there's all of that, the relational. Then spiritual. We don't believe that it's our right to tell you what to believe. What we want to help you do is learn how to think for yourself, and how to ask critical questions, and how to feel into what resonates for you as to what your beliefs are. Because at the end of the day, I was raised Christian. I became Catholic, and now I'm very spiritual. I don't subscribe to religion, because religion doesn't work for humans. It's meant to entrap humans and keep them enslaved, and that's really through their brain. The thing is that I now would call myself a Christ follower, not a Christian, because of the tie to the religion versus something that actually supports and fortifies a human being, which following Christ resonates for me, and being spiritual resonates for me. So, whatever that, I think it was Buddha that said, just pick a horse and get on it and ride. Whatever that is for you, again, that goes down to your internal representations, your culture. Where did you grow up? How were you raised? Those are all things that play a role in all of this. And maybe that stuff is not what resonates with you now. Don't beat yourself up over that. The thing is there's a lot of people awakening across the planet to what is really, truly empowering to humans. And then financial health. We are abundant, manifesting beings. We can be intentional and deliberate creators of our reality if we so choose. Or we can maintain being a victim to somebody's villain and needing a savior that's outside of ourselves. And I believe there's nobody that can save you. You have to do that yourself. And so when it comes to financial health, we are very empowered to do. We can be very empowered if we choose to be able to create whatever it is that we want in this life as far as abundance. And this is one thing that's been a lie we've been programmed with since we were very young. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is hard to come by. You have to work hard if you want money. Or you have to screw somebody over and be evil if you want money. Money is evil, cancel, clear, delete, all of that. We're all free from all of that. The thing is that that's the programming that most humans have. And the thing is that money has absolutely no intention of its own. It is energy. It is simply energy. And money in the right hands can change the entire world. And money in the wrong hands, or in the hands of people who want to control and manipulate others, it can have a really devastating effect on the world. And we are watching it play out full game, full bore right now. And the thing is that as everybody awakens to who they are spiritually, and that who they are as intentional and deliberate creators of their own reality, that will change. That we will watch that change drastically across the board. So financial health is really super important to the empowering of a human being, and fortifying the way that a human being lives. And then last but not least is tribal health. Who is your community? Who do you have supporting you? Who are the people that are part of your daily life that you love, that are your ride or die, that would show up at 2 o'clock in the morning for an emergency, would give you the shirt off of their back if you needed it? All of those things. These are the people that are your tribe. These are the people that are like-minded. They think like you. They believe a lot of the same things as you, not exactly as you do, because again, we're all different. And what are the people that you surround yourself with? Because at the end of the day, you are those people that you surround yourself with. And do they support you? And do they lift you up? And do they help you feel like you can do anything in the world that you want to do because you can? Or are they people that we call crabs in the bucket, that they're in the bucket with you, and anytime you want to climb out of the bucket, they're going to drag you back down? Are these the people that you're around? And this is the other thing. These are human constructs for us to believe that we are required to put up with people or have people in our life that because they're family. Blood is thicker than water. Well, this is the deal. If somebody is toxic and is difficult to be around and makes you feel like you can't do what you want to do, or that you have limitations, or that you are not able to express yourself completely and fully as who you are, you have to hide any part of who you are from the people that supposedly love you. These are people that, if you really love yourself, and that's the most important key ever, is for you to love yourself enough to put boundaries around those people. So part of Paleo Effects is getting rid of all the toxins in our life. Toxic people is one of them. Toxic thoughts, toxic foods, toxic chemicals, all of the things in our lives that we just we haven't paid attention to, and we've kind of been run over by some of the big corporate companies that are in it for profit and really want to continue to up the game on people being sick and going into that healthcare system where they are reliant on big pharma, and they are reliant on big companies for the products that they have. So there you go. Sorry, that was like a big...
That was great. That actually leads really nicely into our next question. What are the businesses that you created, and how were you able to make them successful?
Well, obviously Paleo Effects was one of them. Paleo Effects really started out as a labor of love, obviously, because it was a legacy for Brittany. So it wasn't really set up, and this was also part of, programming and mind, whatever, all of the things, because we believed money was evil, and if you're in the health game, you shouldn't charge people for, stuff, all of that stuff. It was all those weird things. I can't think of anything better than helping someone regain their health or maintain their health. That's probably one of the things that I think is probably you should be paid the most for, is helping some, because when you help somebody get their health, you give them freedom. And then they have the ability to go do whatever it is that they want, and then the ripple effect from that goes out. So Paleo Effects was a big deal for us to get started. And like I said, it started out as a labor of love. So we weren't really, we didn't have a business plan for it. It was just something we were carrying out. And in 2014, we got involved in a company called ID Life, and our business in that is ID Life Wellness. It is a customized nutrition company. And we were at an event, and because we were top earners in the company, were able to have some private time with Darren Hardy, who was the former editor of Success Magazine. And we had some private time with him, and he was talking to us, and he was asking us about our business, and he asked if it was successful. And we were like, well, fundamentally it's successful. Financially, we don't, we're just happy if it breaks even. And he said, he goes, well, can you be open to something that I have to tell you? And I said, sure. And he said, just keep an open mind in this. He said, it is great that you are not money motivated, that you are mission motivated. He said, but just be open to this. And he said, if you make more money, you can touch more people. And the light bulb went off for us. And we were like, oh, like we really need to run this like a business. Like it really needs to be a business. It really needs to have a focus of actually profiting and making money so that we can grow, that we can have more people, that we can do more reach, that we can have all of these things. And so then in 2014, it really became a business on the business, and it became very, very successful. Then in 2020, when we were canceled, we pivoted our business, and we now have a high performance coaching business that we call Primal Alchemy, and we utilize all kinds of tools to help people transform their lives and to be able to undo some of the programming that all of us have been programmed with. And this is through no fault of our own or our parents or grandparents or anyone. All of us have been programmed. It's been part of the programming of humanity so that the majority of us serve a very small few people. And we have become profit centers for these people. And really, the awakening right now that we're seeing across the planet is people waking up to this reality and understanding that we have far more power than we've ever believed that we had. And this is, I don't watch a whole lot of things, but I will tell you, the movie A Bug's Life, if everyone will watch that, you will understand we are the ants. And the grasshoppers that are in the movie that are trying to control all the ants and make the ants work for them and do all of this stuff, you will see those are the small few that feed off of us, and they need us. We don't need them. And so I would watch that movie because that movie is extremely empowering, and you'll understand how much power you have and how you don't need anyone else but yourself, and then your little family and your friends and your community to support you. We are all powerful. So that's our other business, and we do use what we like to call power plants for some of that, and some of that we don't. We don't have to use that. It just depends. So. And I have a real quick tip too. There are 2 books right now that I am recommending to people besides ours. If you want to become really empowered and you want to control your money. And one of them is called Money is Love. And it's a really quick read. Like you can read it in like about an hour, but it's really super powerful because it really changes your mindset around money. And the other one is called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. And the reason I'm talking about this, and I know our programming around money for particularly just everyday humans, is the reality that money is evil, all of these things, cancel clearly, that we're all free from that. But the thing is that when you start realizing how money is energy, and that when you vibrate at a frequency that's really high, that you attract money if you are not doing the things and saying the things and thinking the things that repel money. So it's really energy, and we are energy, and it is like attracts like. So if you think about those things, and the thing that is really cool, particularly about the Happy Pocket Full of Money, is it really goes into quantum science and physics. And when you get into all of that, that's really fun stuff, and it's really exciting. And then you realize how really powerful that you are as a human. So,
yeah, I'm definitely going to get those books for sure. And then real quick, just to remind everyone that's listening, when is Paleo FX this year, and how can people, get access to it if they do want to go?
it is April 29th through May the 1st in Austin, Texas at the Palmer Event Center. And you can go to paleofx.com to get your badges or passes. And there are 3 different entry tiers. So you can get an expo pass if you're just like dipping your toe into the paleo lifestyle and want to learn a little bit more. And you have access to the entire expo floor and one of the main stages. And then the premier pass or badge, you get access to all the stages in the expo floor. And then the VIP badge, you have access to everything, including the VIP lounge where the speakers hang out. And there's a lot of really cool things that are going on in the VIP lounge, kind of behind the scenes. So those are the 3 access points. And I know that we extended a promo that we're doing. It's buy one, get one 50% off, I think, for the premier badges. And you can get all of the details there.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. This was fun. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
You
Thank
too.
you, you too.
Thank you.